2024 has been a year jam-packed full of fitness information on how you are going to build more muscle. Well, in my opinion, there's been some massive flops and some huge wins, so we're going to discuss it. My name is Peter Truick, and more importantly, I'm a qualified and still practicing physiotherapist. So that means I know a thing or two about anatomy and physiology and how we can optimize our muscle building. Let's jump into the stretch.
The stretch part of a lift is more important than the contracted part of a lift.
Stretch super deep.
AKA stretch mediated hypertrophy, using the stretch range to build muscle. The fitness influencers took this and turned something that could have been a huge win into a massive flop. And the way they did this was they took the studies, interpreted them incorrectly according to what the studies published. They took, let's go for an excessive stretch, let's lower the weight used, and then we will build more muscle. What the study showed was a stretch range of movement within a normal range. So not going into an excessive stretch like Dr. Mike lying on a bench with his arms way back in a stretch to do curls. No, that doesn't work. Just do the stretch portion may work. So then Dr. Milo Wolf and Jeff Nippard did a huge study on it, and it showed that it doesn't matter. Both groups grew the same amount of muscle relatively, and what did work was training hard.
We are pushing participants hard. Everyone I've spoken to in the study said they were training harder in the study than outside the study. One more, let's go, one more. Again. Finish it. Stay up.
Jeff actually said this is the hardest he's ever trained, and he built muscle both in the stretch and in the non-stretch range of movements. So the key component, train hard, don't worry about the stretch. In my opinion, use stretch partials to do exactly that. Partials after you've already trained to failure on an exercise, and you can utilize a stretch only in exercises where you are stronger in that stretch position. More commonly, your rows or your lat pull downs. I wouldn't bother anywhere else really. The next big thing about 2024 that can help you build muscle is how much protein you are actually taking in as a natural lifter. Now, we've heard it all before, I've said it all before, and so has everyone else, quoting the study from 2018, which was done very poorly, going into 1 gram to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, Dr. Milo Wolf did a great video on this, and you should definitely check it out after this video if you want to dive into it a bit more. But now we have access to a more modern study, and this one was done properly. So this showed that if you eat 0.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight compared to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, you are going to grow 3 times the muscle at 1.6. But this study took it a bit further. This study took it to 3.1 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, this is extortionate and expensive, but what it did show is compared to 1.6, you are going to grow 1.5 times, or roughly 1.5 times, 55% more muscle. Now, this might not sound like a huge amount, but if you think about it, if you're a natural lifter and you build 2 pounds of muscle a year, add 50% of that, could be 3 grams or 3 kilograms of muscle per year. Now that is insane. That is a huge amount of muscle as an advanced natural lifter. So we're taking that in and we're eating more protein, just like the bro said all those years ago. The next big change to the fitness world that occurred in 2024 is that technique doesn't matter. And finally, this is a huge win. Someone's finally said it, and it was Dr. Mike who mainly drove this with Jeff Nippard to some extent. And he's right, technique does not get you injured. That is simple as that. There's no research to support it. In fact, there's research to support against it. The only thing technique can do is allow you to target the exact muscle you want. It doesn't matter in terms of injury or injury risk, and this is a huge win for the fitness community. Stop being scared of going into loaded internal rotation or deadlifting with a slightly rounded back. It won't kill you. And if you have got shoulder problems or already a shoulder rotator cuff injury and that, then obviously don't go crazy with it, but work towards getting those upright rows, work towards getting those really deep dips, because our body adapts to things that we give it. So if we give it those stimulus, it's actually going to bulletproof, not that that's a word, but bulletproof your shoulders if you work towards those things that you find difficult. And I have to go for a shameless plug. I actually made a video discussing technique, a whole series of videos discussing technique and how to utilize different techniques of the same exercise to target different muscles. And it's a great series, so go check it out after this video. I'll have one of them linked up at the top. The next big thing to come out of 2024 in terms of you building more muscle and me trying to is Jeff's study, where he did a meta-analysis on how to optimize your training. So he looked at tons of research and it only showed 2 things. Number 1 being the stretch, which we've spoken about before and I'm not a big fan. Number 2 being tempo. So basically anywhere from 1 to 8 seconds. So that's per rep. So if you are lifting up and down, as long as the weight's controlled, it's not going to make a much bigger difference in terms of muscle building or hypertrophy than it would be if you go up and then extremely slow down. Now, going slow down on the eccentric is a lot safer and potentially might help reduce injury because it just changes the amount of force it takes to stop the weight. It's simple inertia. Newton had this right from the start. But if you're controlling the weight, you're not going to have a problem. If you go 1 second on the way down versus if you go 8 seconds on the way down, not much difference in terms of hypertrophy. But don't be that guy setting off the clunk alarm at Planet Fitness by throwing your weights down, because then you're not going to build anything. And Jeff has told us a bit of a teaser for what's coming up in 2025, and that is a study looking at strict form controlled reps compared to the Sam Sulek style, just lift the weight up, cheat it up no matter what. And I actually think science lifters might have to change their approach on this one, because I think you might get more hypertrophy lifting a heavier weight with a bit of a cheat like Sam Sulek does, and he's sitting there on his exercise bike having a laugh, smiling when these study results come out. Now, if they use the same weight and cheat it up versus strict form will grow more muscle. But let's be real, if you cheat the weight, you can lift a shit ton more weight. So if they do the study properly and incorporate that as a variable, then we will be absolutely surprised, and I have a feeling the bros are going to come out on top of this one. The next buzzword, now this is not just in the fitness, but this is in the entire world, is AI. AI is popping up everywhere, and no surprise, it's worked its way into the gym. Now, I've tested one of the top AI apps, and I'll link that video after this, and it was absolutely garbage. There was hardly any AI. It didn't understand programming. It didn't understand how exercise target different muscles. It basically had no clue whatsoever. So this is a massive flop, although it does have good potential. But for now, in 2024, AI in the gym, don't waste your time. Just go get a personal trainer or use the free fitness advice out there on YouTube from my channel, obviously, or someone like Jeff, Dr. Mike, the other Jeff from AthleanX. Anyone like that, you're going to get better information than if you go down the route of an AI fitness app. The next thing that took the world by storm in 2024 was the HROC. If you're like me and you're a true gym bro, you don't like hyroxing. I don't like hyroxing. I really dislike hyroxing, but it has taken over, and yeah, well, this is for CrossFitters who like running, and now they finally discovered their true personality. But for me, I couldn't be bothered with it, and yeah, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're probably not a big fan either, but hey ho, each to their own. And then finally, the worst trend of them all in 2024.
I don't even know. It's crazy that just this little thing here is gonna make me look phenomenal.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.
Need I say more? I mean, short-term gain, yes, definitely. Long-term huge consequences that most of these people cannot foresee, most definitely. So moving into 2025, what do you and I both need to do to build muscle? Well, in my opinion, go with an 80-20 approach. Now this is percentage. 80% of the time you're using strict form and as heavy as possible. And the last 20% of each set, you are just getting the weight up. You can cheat it up, you can do partial reps. As long as you're pulling a face in the mirror or making grunt noises if no one's around, you're training hard enough. Don't be fooled. No small technique change is going to overset how much muscle you'll build by training hard. That 0.001% by a small technique change is not going to take over the 0.5% by just training exceptionally hard. So train hard all the time and you'll get gains. And most importantly, if you subscribe and watch Flex Physique to stay up to date with the most real-world science approaches, then yeah, that'll definitely help you build more muscle than anything else. You don't even need to go to the gym, just watch me and you'll build muscle. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your time and all the support over 2024. I only started this channel beginning of this year, and I couldn't believe I reached 1,000 subscribers already. So thank you very much to all of you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful new year and a great 2025 full of massive gains. Until then guys, we'll catch you in the next one.